You know why every self-respecting pirate wore an eye patch? And no, it wasn't from a saber slash.
One of the most convincing theories? The patch helped pirates see in the dark. Imagine, blazing sun above, then suddenly down into the dark hold. That patched eye, already adjusted to the dark.
No myth, even modern pilots use this trick. Check the US Navy Flight Training Manual, 1992.
Of course, real injuries did happen, like to Jean Bart. For him, the eye patch was honor, not costume.
So no, eye patches weren't for scaring people. They were tech, survival tech.
In the age of powder and blades, even an eye patch could save your life. A parrot on a pirate's shoulder? Beautiful. But mostly fiction.
In reality, parrots were rare and expensive. Bright, talking species were bought by collectors, not pirates with muskets. Much more accessible were cats and monkeys. Cats caught rats on the ship, saving provisions and rigging. Without them, grain would rot and sails could be gnawed through overnight. Some pirates considered cats almost crew members. Jack Rackham, Calico Jack, kept 2 cats and called them his first mates. Monkeys. They were like a living circus. They were caught in tropical ports, sold in markets, a curiosity but accessible.
Bartholomew Roberts, Black Bart, gave his monkey rum and taught it to dance on barrels right in front of the crew. There were tales that Edward Lowe kept a monkey in a midshipman's uniform. They said it spat at officers. True or not, no one knows.
Some even kept really strange animals. One captain kept an iguana, called it Juana, most like green. Even turtles were kept, usually as provisions. But sometimes a pirate would grow fond of a turtle and wouldn't cut it for luck.
Piglets, goats, small dogs, everything could be found on ships. Pirates loved anything strange, especially alive and funny.
Parrots are for fairy tales. But a real pirate went into battle with a monkey on his shoulder. Rum? A pirate's drink? Almost.
But almost no one drank it straight. Instead, they drank grog, and that's a separate story. What is grog? It's a cocktail of despair. Rum, water, lime juice, a bit of sugar, sometimes warm beer. Hot, murky, sticky, but it saved lives. First, from thirst. Second, from scurvy. Water in barrels quickly went bad. Mold, stench, larvae.
And rum disinfected all of that. Almost. Lime and lemon provided at least some protection from disease.
And most importantly, grog kept them from getting utterly plastered. Drinking rum neat means losing half the crew in an hour.
With grog, you could be merry but not dead. The British started diluting rum by order of Admiral Vernon. He wore a rough coat, they nicknamed him Old Grog.
Pirates picked up on this idea in their own way.
In Jamaica, they brewed fiery grog with chili peppers. They wrote, "Burns the soul but brings back the taste for life." Some added tree bark so they wouldn't puke from seasickness. And Blackbeard? He drank rum with gunpowder, lit it and swallowed, right in front of everyone, to instill fear.
Grog wasn't just a drink. It was a style of survival. So next time you try a rum cocktail, remember that it was once hot rot from a barrel. Worse than a bullet? Only scurvy.
It's when your gums rot, your teeth fall out, your body gets covered in sores.
On 17th century ships, it was almost an epidemic. Sailors sailed for weeks without fresh vegetables and fruits.
And without vitamin C, the body literally fell apart. The disease was known, but they didn't understand what caused it until
the pineapples and lemons appeared.
Caribbean pirates noticed. Those who ate tropical fruits didn't get sick. Captain Barfold, it's rumoured, kept a whole crate of limes in the hold.
But poor sailor John Howell had his cheeks rot off. The true horrors of the sea, it's not boarding, it's scurvy.
By the 18th century, the British fleet began issuing lemon juice.
Pirates. They just ate what grew on shore. No science, just experience. And a pineapple for 3.
Today we call it vitamin C. Back then, it was a question: live or rot alive.
So next time you bite into a kiwi, remember the pirate. He'd give a cutlass for that fruit. And, perhaps, an eye.
Blackbeard never hid treasure. He hid fear.
Blackbeard, a name that killed captains. And for good reason. But here's the strange thing: in his life he killed almost no one.
Real name Edward Teach. Pirate from 1716 to 1718. Famous for his image and for theatrical terror.
Before battle, he wove smoldering fuses into his beard. They smoked and wrapped his face like that of a ghost.
Most captains surrendered immediately, without a single shot. That was his true power, fear as a weapon.
And what about treasure? Secret caves? Buried chests? Historians believe he hid nothing at all.
Titch spent it all almost at once. When he was killed, they found a little sugar, cocoa, and a couple of coins. No treasure. No maps with X marks.
By the way, he died from a bullet in the back, in an ambush. And before that, 5 shots, 20 saber wounds. And still he stood.
That was the theatre of its smoke, fury, myth, and a little truth. Beard was no killer. He was a director of fear.
And on this stage, he played the leading role. Until the very end.
Royal power? Laws written for the wealthy? Ha! True freedom was on the pirate ships. And now, I shall tell you how it worked.
There was more democracy on a pirate ship than in most countries. It was the law of the gentleman of fortune. And every man mattered.
The captain was chosen by the whole crew, by vote. They picked the one who was clever, brave, and could lead.
If the captain was a coward and did not divide the spoils well, he was removed. Sometimes captains were changed twice or even 3 times a year.
And the power was divided. In battle, the captain commanded. He gave the orders, steered the ship. His word in battle was law.
But in peacetime, the main authority belonged to the quartermaster. He too was elected. He managed the supplies. Decisions on where to sail or what to do with prisoners were made by the whole crew. Even the cabin boy could give his opinion, and his voice counted the same. Every crew had its own articles. They laid out the rules, how to share the loot, what punishments there were.
For example, Bartholomew Roberts had it written, "He who steals from a shipmate shall be left ashore without weapons or food." Not much of a joke, I'll tell you that.
Our work is a dangerous trade. Without trust and equality, mutiny comes fast. Democracy kept men driven.
There is no crown here. Authority was earned in battle, not given by title. And a captain was a temporary figure, not the owner of the ship.
Before the raid on Panama, Henry Morgan held a vote. They chose to go, but from the loot, he took only 2 shares, not all. And Charles Vane was removed by his crew for avoiding battle with a British ship. Cowards were not tolerated aboard.
Sometimes the captain was even disarmed and set adrift in a small boat. That's what happened to Edward Lowe after a failed attack.
Bartholomew Roberts introduced a ship's articles with rules for dividing loot, punishments for drunkenness, and a mandatory council before battle.
And a true captain is not a king, but simply the first among equals.
Subscribe, and you'll discover much more about the life of pirates.